Hi, welcome. This is chapter 13 of Walking a Rainbow by me, Michael Shearer, about my son and I, who was 9, walking the Camino de Santiago. Chapter 13 then, called Tenderness. I awoke in the morning feeling vaguely anxious. There was something threatening here in Biana. Something that required a response, a cool courage, a panic, a manic killing, a strong sense of family unity. I couldn't see what the threat was, but I could feel it. There was a need for a mythical figure of bonhomie, a Father Christmas. Kes didn't appear to be in his sleeping bag or in the room. I eventually found him dead to the world, curled up like a woodlouse at the very bottom of his bag. Outside the morning had dawned cool. Men in blue boiler suits with black wellies and straw hats flushed the streets clean with hoses, the water sparkling in the crisp early sun. A donkey was being shod and bridled in a corner of the main square. I popped into the main church, hit a candle to my unknown grief. Nearby was an extraordinary statue of a woman, Mary Magdalene, coquettish and sexy, naked to the waist, with long seaweed-like hair and a sensuous tilt to the hips. Her skirt was a penitent sack tied with the pagan symbol of the female. Here was the potent and dangerous Aphrodite, who could make men violently ill, destructive Helen, who could innocently start a war, energetic Lilith, demanding satisfaction and insisting on her pristine independence, Artemis, attracting suitors like crazed moths, ready with her arrows to shoot them in the back. I have never seen the like in any Catholic church. A celebration of temptation. An honest whore, knowing an alternative truth, cutting through pretense with an arch look. The youthful version of the force at Unate, before it had matured into an ancient, shrivelled fruition. I shivered. Unate still stuck in my heart like a granitic arrowhead. And here too, I found, out by the porch, was a large ancient tombstone set into the pavement, a single name recorded in its restless contents. It was the tomb of Cesare Borgia, the model for Machiavelli's Prince. We set out late for Logroño, the next town, a big city. In the quiet, as we walked, conversation emerged naturally, like an unfurling frond. For some reason, Kes wanted to talk about the silver car. Back in Ingatstone, in the early stages of preparation, we had taken a few short walks around the village. One sunny day, we were walking down Stock Lane, a narrow country road, when the roar of a powerful open-top sports car ripped through the peace. We stood well back on the verge as it reached us and thundered past. At the wheel, a young man, almost too young to drive. He was gunning the car hard, showing off. I can see his face now, the grin of the pushy adolescent, as he turned to his girl as they bombed along, terrifyingly fast. She squealed by his side in excited fear, head thrown back, mouth wide in wild abandon, like a climax. Her scream echoed around as the car rocketed over the hill ahead. "Much too fast, much too fast," I cried in consternation. We could only hear, from far ahead and out of sight, the desperate shriek of brakes, and a series of ominous crunches. We hurried along. Soon an ambulance passed us, howling urgently. By the time we had topped the hill and reached the scene, the quiet of the countryside had returned once more. A farmer told us how he had seen the car shoot over the brow, take to the air, plunge down nose first, and cartwheel over and over. In the stunned silence there was now only the wrecked car, metal twisted like toffee, broken glass, the farmer's urgent need to talk, and blood everywhere. Here in Spain we talked it through, both of us still needing to exorcise the shock. We took a break en route at a church like a hacienda, made of sandstone blocks, with concrete picnic tables like raised tombstones mushrooming in the shade. Whitethroat sang in the trees. A strong, blonde cyclist wandered around taking photographs, fine professional camera. Sturdy, fit chap like a Dane. We chatted a little, and he turned out to be an American taking photos for a book. He wanted to do the walk one day. We shared an apple and a cigarette. Then he pedalled off strongly down the rutted, lion-hued path. Above him a flock of storks spiralled lazily in a languid carousel, moving steadily east as they rotated. Maybe 50 or 60 birds, dark beneath, each flashing white in the sun as they turned. Fairly dull the rest of the way to Logroño. As we steadily trudged, I found my mind taking stock. After a while, you don't consciously think. Just let the thoughts rise, like a spring, and note what they are as they pass. The question that I couldn't ignore, which formed in the dullness, was, what was I doing here at all? What was I looking for exactly? The Santiago of the soul, I had told myself, but what precisely was that? Here I had been given the gift of time. Time at home was so packed and so empty. So much work, so many deadlines, so much to do. Even entertainment filling time, yet somehow irrelevant and beside the point. Distractions everywhere, and a growing ache that had become urgent to find out what lay hidden beneath, what I was covering by the work and the frenetic play. I had read Kierkegaard and had been moved by his account of the hedonist's increasingly neurotic determination to dispel the bogey of boredom. Entertainment was a defence mechanism against the fear of boredom. But what was it in boredom, in effect in time and consciousness itself, such that the mind was scared of it? The irony was that in order to produce an effective defence mechanism at all, the mind had to know somehow what it was defending itself against. Otherwise, how could it construct something that would work? So I already knew, somewhere in there, what I was so scared of. Bateson wrote that entertainment was the food of depression. What distinguishes a pilgrimage from spiritual tourism is the journey, not the destination. The struggle is all. It's what you're there for. The walk, like the writing, is full of dull stretches, and in those dull stretches up come the thoughts you need to deal with. In the monotonous passages, the dreary road to the horizon, there was much to be found, much to speak of. When a plain, long path presented, there was nothing to do but walk it. No distractions, no entertainment, nothing to interest and divert, and I found something there awaiting my attention. I found me. I lurked beneath the demand for amusement, waiting like a bandit to pounce. All the things I didn't want to encounter, the things the entertainment was used to hide, waited patiently, and slowly as I walked I ran out of stratagems to conceal, and what I needed to face, repeatedly and more plainly, emerged. The bandit, grinning like a clown, whispered to me the things I feared to hear. The dull stretches were among the most testing and productive times. There was gold in the boredom. Consciousness itself, the bare cogito, contains its own remedies. Just above Logroño, an old woman suddenly appeared on the path out of a nearby hovel. She fluttered about waving pamphlets at us. Her bright porcelain eyes, sunk in her creased, reptilian brown face, were full of enthusiasm. The pamphlets showed the whereabouts of the refuge in the big city ahead. It was apparently some sort of social charity called JOC, J-O-C. We thanked her and she glowed with the pleasure of giving, then skittered into the shade like a lizard, waving goodbye to await the next pilgrims. Logroño was an emotional mess. A big city with a big city's confusion of feelings. So many people going about their business. Clatter and noise and fumes and bustling disorder. I could detect no overall quality of feeling. Though cooler today, a tower in the centre had a display which read 33 degrees centigrade. We found the refuge easily. A tatty street with lots of police hanging about and men sitting on the curb with vacant eyes. We dumped our gear. Kez took a nap while I went to get some new socks, white cotton ones, some cash, and to hunt for a cobbler. My old boots had acquired a startling slope on the heels, so that I walked with a bandy gait like Popeye. I was beginning to get pains in the calves and hips from the unnatural stresses. The cobbler was not hopeful that my boots could be repaired, but he would try. He wanted me to come back in the evening. We had intended to go through Logroño, but it looked like we were staying. Nothing to do but wait around. When I went back in the evening, he had done a good job. I struggled to express my satisfaction. "You are not a cobbler," I said in faltering Spanish. I thought he was going to hit me with his hammer. I went on swiftly. "You are an artist in shoes." He beamed and whipped out a bottle of red wine from nowhere, and we toasted the health of pilgrims everywhere and the noble art of cobbling. He showed me how strong the boots were now, bending the sole back with powerful fingers, and I admired his work once more. That night I lay restlessly awake on the floor of the refuge. The room had a city's humidity in the close heat. Orange street lights shone into the room, a touch of Raymond Chandler. Then a voice outside called in the night, "Hola, hola." Only Billie Holiday could have got so much caressive innuendo into the 2 syllables of this hello, and for the same reason. It was a condensed message of availability, laced with the hard-cased vulnerability of the fallen. It had street cred, the offer of temporary tenderness, love for sale, and a self-defensive cynicism ready to curse and spit, a whore at work. I could hear the fawning and the claws. "Hola!" She went on like a cuckoo till I fell asleep. I dreamed luridly of a harem. As we turned to leave in the morning down the seedy street, a woman came out of a nearby doorway and greeted a friend. At once I knew her. The tones were unmistakable. She was tall and scrawny, like a chicken that had been starved, plucked and stretched on some relentless rack. She glanced into my eyes, and I saw a lifetime of bleak struggle, honed to melancholy hardness. The little hope there was only a lingering question. Still looking for business. Further down the sordid street, a barefoot child played alone in a pothole in the road. She wore a poor frayed dress and dirty knickers. She chatted to her imaginary companions. My heart, tender as a wound, melted within me. Her impoverished, disabled future seemed to float around her. I looked on her with acute distress, a sharp-edged splinter in the soul. Such wounds do not heal, they only recede. What can be done with such things except to move on? I walked on through the bustling streets, the honking cars.